My name is Christi Busby, and you are about to listen to the next episode of my podcast called F.A.T.E, From Atheism to Enlightenment. So come on in, join me. We're going to talk about it all, from atheism to enlightenment. Alrighty, guys, here we go. Get ready, and welcome to your F.A.T.E. Welcome, everyone, to the next episode of F.A.T.E. How's everybody doing today? On today's show, I have author, intuitive, host of her own podcast called Real Life Angel Encounters. She has a book out called Real Life Angel Encounters. I have Christi Clemons Hoffmann here today, gang, and we're going to be discussing conversations with the other side, lifting the veil, what's beyond. Christi, welcome to your F.A.T.E, my friend. How you doing today?
Thank you so much for having me, Christi. I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
I'm out here in Atlanta now, so I'm swimming in a different time zone. But I'm doing good. Thank you for coming on and being a part of the show. I really appreciate it. I read your book and I found it to be very intriguing, and I want to get into it. But first, I always like to start with everybody's personal journey. Can you tell me what your spiritual journey was, your awakening, how you became to know that you were an intuitive, that you were a channeler? I'd love to hear your story first.
So my origin story.
Yes.
So like many kids anymore, I grew up being intuitive and not really understanding it, just always labeled as too sensitive. I saw my first ghost when I was just a baby. My dad was a night watchman at a big rambling 1930s era high school here in Kansas City. My mom was an x-ray tech. She worked nights. He worked nights. He would take me in my playpen to go do this night watchman job and just kind of do his rounds. And then he was a college student at the time, so he'd study. And then I just sleep or play or whatever in my playpen. And one night I stood up in my playpen and I was waving at somebody in the corner and I said, "Hi, Mr. Man." And my dad said he quit the next day because it was weird for him. But I had seen ghosts after that, and I knew things before they happened, and I knew who you could trust and who you couldn't, just kind of intuitively, and was always fascinated in this other side. But I had no idea that that was something special or desirable. I grew up in the suburbs of Kansas City, and it was a truly suburban experience. And I learned very quickly that that is not something that you talk about with these people at school because they think you're weird. And I was the weird kid. And fast forward to here I am an adult, and I still didn't know that you could do anything with this. I still didn't know really how to use it or channel it or welcome it or that it was anything unique or special. But then I went through what I call a crucible moment. My husband decided he wanted to leave the family, and I started, yeah, it was pretty devastating. And I was looking for meaning. I started googling things like soulmates and karma and soul path, and turns out there's a lot of information out there about this. And I wound up with a woman named Dolores Cannon. Her picture is over my head here. Dolores Cannon, the very famous metaphysician. She was in Arkansas, which from Kansas City is about a 5-hour drive. And I thought, well, you know what I need to do is have a session with Dolores Cannon. She had this healing technique, this hypnosis technique called quantum healing hypnosis technique that I now do, as a matter of fact. But I thought, well, this is what I need to do. I need to go down and have a session with her. So I call the office and they tell me, oh, yeah, she's booked up for 4 years. I didn't know she was that big of a deal.
I mean, I live for Dolores Cannon. I actually have had a quantum healing session by a QHHT professional, and I've read almost all of her books now. And she's one of the inspirations that allowed me to open up to my own spiritual awakening and to start understanding more about who I was and how crazy magical and layered and complex our reality is, and just all of the information that when you first start listening to it, you're like, this cannot be what we are. This can't be. But the longer I'm in this and I'm swimming in this, like I look to her for guidance on all things. So you and I are in alignment on that. So go
Oh,
ahead. Sorry.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So, actually my husband, well, say, so I called the office. They said she was booked up for 4 years. I said, "Well, I was kind of hoping to get in before that." And they said, "Well, she's just started teaching people to use her method. So maybe you've got somebody in town where you live that can do this session for you." And sure enough, he was a psychologist. I'm pretty sure that he's deceased now because he was very, very old 18 years ago. And he was actually the head of the Psychic Studies Institute here in Kansas City. So I thought, well, this is going to be great. This is going to be great. Well, my husband went as well, and neither one of us got very far with QHHT the way that he was doing it. Found out later he was not doing it as it was written. And so he said, "Well, it doesn't happen very often, but if it ever does, then I have someone I can refer you to." He referred me to a lovely woman named Gail who's in the Kansas City region, and she does readings. She did a wonderful reading for me, told me all about my karma with, my husband and soul path and soul family and our Akashic records. And it was just a great experience. I sent my friends to her. They had wonderful experiences, and then she started to teach classes. So I took all of the classes that she was taking, and then I started working with clients like she did. And I found a way to harness everything that I was perceiving, how to work with it, how to work with spirit, how to channel spirit. And I started doing that professionally around 2010 outside of my full-time job.
I
And
mean, you must be like extra level quantum 3
yeah,
quantum healer because of your intuitive and your channeling skills must come in really handy when you're like doing past life regressions or channeling with the subconscious mind or all those things that she does. So that's pretty cool.
yeah, it can come in handy. We never, as a practitioner, we don't want to interfere in the session at all. We don't want to pull in our own stuff. Even if I'm picking something up, I don't want to lead a client in that direction, but it can be super helpful because there's so many times that I am seeing and experience what the client is seeing and experiencing. So I can say, well, what's behind you? Ooh, how do you feel about that? Who's around you? Because I can sense and know that maybe they're in a situation that they might have to be extra cautious, or maybe something's going on. And so I can just ask better, non leading questions because of that. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah. And I'm a level 3 practitioner. There are 3 levels of QHHT. I've been a level 3 practitioner since 26, no, since 2020, and I've done hundreds and hundreds of sessions. It's fascinating work. In fact, I'm in a documentary series. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Journeys into the Soul. And this is by David Marsh. He's a filmmaker, he makes documentaries. And this is a series that focuses on consciousness and altered states of being, and following different people, clients, through hypnosis sessions around the world with different hypnosis practitioners, level 3 QHHT,
Well,
life between lives, facilitators, other types of hypnosis and ways to work with the consciousness. And so he's traveled literally the world. Every episode focuses on a different practitioner and the methods they use and the client and what the client is hoping to get out of the session. And then he does a follow up with both the client and the practitioner after the session, about 2 weeks, to say, okay, so how have things changed for you? What have you learned? How are you implementing that? So it's fascinating, and traveling all
where
over the
where
world.
can one where can I watch that?
Okay, so season 1 is on Gaia already,
Oh
and
yeah, I've got yep.
okay, fantastic. And it's Journeys into the Soul. Season 2, which I am in, we're hoping that it's going to be picked up by Gaia as well. And then it's going to be on Amazon. And
Okay.
then journeysintothesoul.com. You can buy the entire season. You can buy the first season as well. There's 20 episodes per season. So there's a
Oh,
lot
wow.
to
I
watch.
love that. I love
Isn't
that.
that fun? Yeah.
You're also you're a Reiki master as
Mhm.
well. Like you do a lot, girl. You are in the spiritual healing world, very tied in there. So,
Do
that's
some
amazing.
things.
I have to say that when I first opened your book, one of the things that you said that I was like, "Oh my god, I'm the exact same," was you said um you felt compelled to let every person know that we're not alone and that we're much more than we think we are. I can't tell you how many times I say those very words on this show. I say it's much more medical or metaphysical and magical. We're much more powerful than we are. We're more than our physical bodies. And I have that same compulsion to sing it from the rooftops, to awaken people up, to raise their consciousness, to get them thinking with a different head on their shoulders or lens in their eyeballs, and open their minds. So I was like, oh, me and Christy are going to get along great, because that's exactly how I feel about this show. Like, hello, we are so much more than we think we are. We're so much more powerful. We are co-creators of our universe. There's just, so it's nice to be with such a like-minded soul, my friend. So there you go.
Yeah, I do consider it a compulsion, much like Richard Dreyfuss in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where he feels like he's got to create this devil's tower in mashed potatoes or mud or whatever. I'm like, I've got to tell people and let people know about this.
I mean, even going with your book, there's so many people out there that have their own story where a loved one has given them a sign, or an angel has helped them along the way when it was absolutely out of a miracle situation. There's no other way, there's no other explanation for it to. I mean, I am kind of surprised that it's not more accepted at this point, and it's not more mainstream at this point. But it's really not. It's still very woo woo. It's still very unaccepted, completely not even taken seriously by the scientific community whatsoever. Like, you can just forget about that whole realm of the world. So, we need people like you and me to like ring that bell, man, and be like, "Come on, kids, get on the train. It's a good ride
I
over here."
I agree. You know, though, I do feel like the scientific community is kind of catching up with us. They're acknowledging quantum physics
Yes.
actually works. They're
Yeah.
acknowledging that the body has an innate, way to heal itself. I mean, slowly, baby steps, but
Yes.
we got to keep preaching the gospel, girl.
We do. It's still too fringy for my taste. I wanted to become more like an accepted part of our natural being of who we are, is to communicate, I think, with different realms, with beyond the veil, with other dimensions, however you want to say it. So, um let's get into your book a little bit. You talk about the various types of beings that we have, that are available to us for communication opportunities. You talk about guardian angels. Our loved ones obviously always are there with us when we are in need. Um, your higher self, entities. Can you go into what's out there for us to interact with in the different spiritual levels of who we are?
100%. Well, first of all, we never come into this world alone. We think, we're born alone, we die alone, and that is not accurate. We come into this realm with a team. That team is comprised of our guardian angel, because everyone has one, an archangel, because everyone has one. But then other members that can come and go. They might come in for a season, they might stay a while. Some of them could stay with us our entire lives, but we can call in anybody as well. So we come in, we've got a team, we've all got a council, we've got folks on the other side that help us, that are on our soul team. And part of our soul family that may not be incarnate right now, because we have many members of our soul family that we're incarnate with, moms and dads and brothers and sisters, extended family, friends, coworkers even can be part of that group. But we've got another set on the other side, and they'll come with us too. So their role, their whole function is to help us learn, help us grow, keep us safe, keep us company, nudge us. They cannot interfere, so they cannot step in and just fix things for us. I mean, they could, but they generally let us make our own mistakes, right? Just like a loving parent. Sometimes you got to let your kids make a mistake every now and again, because that's how they.
I've made plenty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's our team, and we can call in others as we need them. There's ascended masters that are around that we can call on. Our loved ones, as you mentioned, our loved ones are with us. Then we'll have other angels and guides that we need extra help sometimes. And so we might be wondering, well, what'll I make for dinner tonight? Well, can I get a guide to help me with that? What should I look for in terms of what we should have for dinner? Or where would be a good place for us to go for a vacation? We can call in guides for anything. It doesn't have to be the big stuff. It could be small stuff too.
One of the things in your book, you were talking about, there is a if you're having problems with real estate or finance, if there's like specialty guides out there for just about every single niche in your life that are um big things down here in the 3D plane that we have to deal with. And I didn't understand that. Like I was like, oh, I didn't understand that. So super
We can call
interesting.
it. I don't know if you remember that old commercial for Apple Macs, or for Apple for the iPhone, I think. And they said, we've got an app for that, or there's an
Yeah.
app for that. It's like, there's a guide for that. Literally anything. There's a guide for that.
I definitely am leaning in more to I got certified in something called emotion code. I don't know if you are
I
familiar with
do
it.
know about emotion
Yeah.
code. It is powerful.
Yeah, I got certified in that a few years ago. Now I don't practice as far as like, out there practicing, but I have health issues, so I was using it for my own.
Hmm.
But
Yep.
it's the first time I'm saying this out loud, but I kind of have morphed it into there's several different muscle tests that they teach you that you can use all over your body. There's lots of them, but I use the sway test a lot, and I will get into a calm, centered place, quiet, and I will tap in, and I will start having kind of communications with my higher self, and I'll test it, to like who am I speaking with right now, and you can test it, and you can get right and wrong answers. It's very fascinating, but I've started using muscle testing to kind of tap into my higher self, and it's working.
I
It's giving
love
me
that.
answers. It's kind of nuts, but like I don't know. I've gone through a lot of iterations and weird spiritual stuff in the last few years when I've had my own awakening, and I kind of feel like I'm becoming more and more intuitive, more and more open to that type of energy being around me, communicating with it. It's kind of exciting.
You're not alone, Christy. There's so many people who are just leveling up in a way.
Yeah.
And, I talk about this in the book that during COVID, we were all challenged to go inside our four walls. But really, the point was to go
Yeah.
inside ourselves. And a lot of people did. They started pursuing hobbies that they had always wanted to, but never had time to. They started taking classes that they always wanted to take, but just never had time. They started going to YouTube and different people who were channeling and giving information, like Dolores Cannon.
Yeah. Yep,
And
yep.
they were starting to discover some things and make some realizations for themselves and about themselves, and learning so much more about not only the physical world and the physical air quote reality, but the greater realities. And so I
Right.
called it a post-COVID awakening, that
Yeah.
people came out of this and just up leveled. And I feel like that's continuing. And that's where the Real Life Angel Encounters podcast came from, was that
Oh.
whole thing. And my guides started tapping me on the shoulder, like in the second year of the pandemic, saying, "You need to go out there and tell about us. People need to know about us and how we can interact with everybody." And I said, "No." I said, "No, I've already got a podcast. Thank you very much." Because that's what they said, "You need to have another podcast." I was like, "No, thank you." And I said, I had already done a whole series on YouTube. So on our YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, I did an entire year. Every week, I focused on a different archangel or ascended master. It's called 52 Weeks of Angel Connection on YouTube, and I said, "I've already done that. Does that count?" And they said, "No, no, you gotta do another podcast." I was like, No, I'm a single mom and I've got a busy practice." And so anyway, they finally just kept at it until I said, "Fine, okay, just if you want me to do this, you've gotta show me a way to do it." And they said, "Well, there is this podcast called, the Campfire Podcast, and this is the great Jim Harold, who I just dearly love. He's been such an inspiration and such a great support, but he had a podcast that was I liked the format of it. People called in and told their ghost story that you might tell around a campfire, and it's a virtual campfire. People told spooky, scary stories. And I realized that people have uplifting stories as well. We all have encounters with a loved one or a near miss or some sort of synchronous event. And how wonderful to tell those positive stories. So it's a
Yeah.
podcast for people who love the positive in their paranormal and who love their spirituality with actual spirits.
And there's a ton of people that have experiences.
Yes.
Let's get into um some of the some of the stories that you have in the book where people are being assisted by either an angel or a guardian. Can you tell a couple of the stories where an angel steps in and saves the day in the most profound, like puzzling way? Like you had a few of those that were really good.
Yeah, there's some good
So many.
stories in the book.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
the podcast became a book. And I took the best of the best and put them in the book. And the book is going to be a series, as a matter of fact. And then
Oh.
we can listen to new stories all the time on the Radiate or on the Real Life Angel Encounters podcast, which is out every other Tuesday. So, let's see some really good stories. There's one of a woman named Mara and rhymes with Sarah. And she had moved into a townhouse and there was a set of stairs going upstairs. And when the movers came, they just kind of put things wherever they could. And there was this big, heavy antique door and it has a mirror on it. So she wanted to bring it to her new home and use that door as kind of a funky mirror piece. Well, the movers just kind of leaned it up on the wall on the landing of the stairs. And it was too heavy for her to move it to where she thought it should go. So she kind of left it there for a while. And one night she fell asleep on the couch. She didn't usually do that, but she fell asleep on the couch. And then halfway through the night, she was like, "Oh boy, I better go to bed." And she starts going up the bed and she bumps this door and it starts falling over. And she's like, "No, no, 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 no. Do not fall." And it started to fall over on her. And she knew that she could not lift it because it took two grown men moving her in to lift this door. She knew there's no way, but it started falling over and she knew that she was going to be crushed. So she reached up and she just picked it up and put it against the wall. She went upstairs. The next day she thought, there's no way. Because she just lifted this thing and just lifted and set it against the wall. She said, "No, that can't happen." She went downstairs the next morning and she like moved the door. It's like, no, it weighs a ton.
Yeah.
And she still couldn't figure out how it happened, but she felt that someone was helping her. She
Yeah.
literally felt that someone was spotting her and lifting this door into place. So that's a really cool story. Sometimes we'll get superhuman strength. Now,
Yeah.
this is not in the book, but it is a recent story that
Okay.
been on the podcast. So another story of superhuman strength. This woman had written to me and she said that she and her, I think it was her sister and brother-in-law, had gone camping one weekend. It was not too long after their mom died. and they were all missing her and thinking about mom. And they had a truck with a trailer on it pulling all their camping stuff. They're on the highway. The trailer comes loose. It starts weaving on the highway and then flies off and starts sailing down the road. Luckily, it didn't cause any wrecks. But they thought, "Oh my gosh, what am I gonna do?" And they're pulled over, and this guy pulls up behind them in another truck, comes up, and he says, "Hey, y'all look like you need some help." And they said, "Yeah, the trailer just went flying." He goes, "Let me go get it." He brought this trailer up. He lifted their truck, put the trailer under it, and set the truck down on the trailer.
Oh my word. What?
Isn't that crazy? And he said, "Well, you were in luck. I was just going down the road to see the horsies." Who says horsies?
Nobody.
Except this lady and her sister's mom
Oh.
used to call them horsies all the time.
That's just gave me chills.
I know, I've got chills too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they turned around to thank him, and he was already on his way. So, you know, things like this
It's
can happen.
yeah. You have the guy with that was driving for an extended period of time with his brother, and they should have died miles ago, and somehow
Oh,
the car hung on like that.
yeah.
That one.
So
What?
that was a wild story. So,
Yeah.
yeah, this guy, Stephen in Manchester, UK, had a job with his brother. They would deliver appliances and they had this truck, they would deliver things. So they were going to hit the road one day to go deliver these appliances. And he goes to pick up his brother and he just feels like this overwhelming wave of sadness, but he has no idea why or what it's about. And he's just, his eyes are just tearing and sobbing. His face is sobbing without him even understand. Like, am I crying? Why? What is this? And his brother said, "Are you okay?" He says, "Yeah, but I can't stop crying. It feels like there's a funeral or something, but I don't know what this is." And the brother said, "Okay, well, allergies? No. Did you change your cologne or hair products? Or maybe that's an allergic reaction? No. Can't imagine why." And then they made a stop. They got off and they delivered the appliance and the crying stopped. They get back in the car and he's crying again. And this continued a few times. And then they're on this road, kind of winding road through the countryside. And this was in Scotland, I think. And winding through this road. And he's crying so hard he can't even see at all. He can't see the road. It's like dangerous thing. And these twists and turns are pretty treacherous. So he pulls over onto a shoulder and discovers that the wheel is being held on by one lug nut. If they had taken a corner, they would have been dead.
Yeah. 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 Yep.
So, we talk about our angels are there to help us and protect us. And the thing is, they don't usually swoop in unless it's not our time to go. And we're in a situation where we could.
Yeah.
They might swoop in for that.
Well, it leads me to the next couple of stories that I found were like really like out next level. The is it the Cookville or Cokeville story? The
Cokeville Miracle.
miracle
The
and
Cokeville
the
Miracle.
yeah, and the Joplin
Butterfly
tornadoes
people.
with the
Yeah.
butterfly people.
Ugh.
Exactly.
Where
Like
we're going.
the 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 common thread with the kids seeing these entities, I do think that children maintain the ability to look through the veil, up until the point where we just program it right out of them, like through our schooling and stuff. But there
Right.
is, I believe, something about children still being able to connect spiritually with other dimensions until they get, till we beat it out of them. It's why they have those children that like they're everybody has friends when they're young that nobody else can see. I those are spirit like entity angels things that kids actually connect with, and they just get tired of people saying no, that's happening, or stop talking about it, and then they lose that ability to make that connection, which I think is such a travesty, man.
Yeah, I think so too. And I do work with parents and teachers who have these spiritually gifted kids. And just let them know that, there's nothing wrong, these kids are good.
And I have found that when it comes to children, they have this ability to tap into the other side. Um, they all have friends that nobody else can see. I think there's a reason for that. I think that their intuitive abilities are pretty intact. They're new to this plane. They're fresh off spirit land, and they're still able to kind of have um that connection to the other side much more easily than than we do as adults, when it just gets beat out of us and we get told that it's not true, that that's nonsense, that
Yep.
it's impossible, that don't say that. Yeah. So I think there's something about children and the other side where there's still quite a connection there, that they're able to pick up on things that adults just can't seem to get
Right,
dialed into.
absolutely. They don't know that it's something, I can't say unnatural because it's completely natural. They don't know that it's something other than what they're perceiving, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, we can tell them, "Oh, it's bad. Jesus thinks it's wrong," or however, right?
That's a whole nother podcast right there. I mean, my
I get a lot.
word. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what we're gonna do
Mhm.
about that.
I get a lot of people coming through my office who have religious trauma, right? And so
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
kids,
A
yeah,
lot of
these
people.
you're
Yep.
absolutely right. These kids are coming in. All of us have these abilities from when we're born. We all do. Now, just like we could all sing, everybody could, right? Some people are going to be more gifted at it and talented at it right from the start. Some people can work at it and get better, and some are like, it's like, please don't sing. The same thing with our intuitive gifts. Some of us are born like very well developed right off the bat. Others can learn how to harness it, learn how to channel it, learn how to use it. And then there are still others that might have it, but they just, maybe as intuitive as a stone, but they still have some kind of abilities, right? So we're all born with this, and we can have it taught out of us. We could have it encouraged out of us. We can be made to feel that
Yeah.
it's very strange or weird or it's sinful. I never re-
Yeah.
I never
Yeah.
recommend it
All
though,
of
because
that.
that energy has to go somewhere. And that energy can go toward depression, anxiety, insomnia, all kinds of things that we might not want.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. So let's tell the story of the butterfly people with the Joplin tornado. Like, that was pretty intense, and that was just, it seemed in the book that it was mainly kids reporting um the incidences
Yeah.
occurring. So
So
do tell.
this happened in Joplin, Missouri, which is my home state. I am in Kansas City, Missouri. And the Joplin's maybe 3 hours away or so. And in 2011, May 2011, there was this Category 5 tornado, which is devastating. And it did destroy much of the town. Whole neighborhoods were gone. It was the most deadly tornado on record, the most expensive as well in terms of the damage that it created. So, bad tornadoes. And afterward, people were starting to come out of the wreckage. They were starting to gather at places where they could get food and shelter, and people started talking. And many children and some teens too, which I would still consider children, were talking about these winged beings being with them and helping them. One such story from that whole episode was there was a dad and a little girl. She was maybe 2, and they were in a car, and they had gotten, flipped around by this tornado. And anybody who's not in the Midwest, if we think we know what a tornado is from the Wizard of Oz. But right? But here in the Midwest, we know that tornadoes are not something to be messed with. That they can put a cow in a tree. After a tornado, there might be a
Yeah.
blade of grass or straw that is driven through a telephone pole. There can be the whole house is destroyed and one bookcase is still standing and all the books are in. So crazy type of destruction. So this car had been flipped around by the tornado, and afterward, the dad and the little girl were safe. They were fine, maybe banged up a little bit, but the dad was giving a report to the police, and the policeman said, "Well, it was just you and your daughter in the car. Is that right? Was anybody else in the car?" He says, "No, it was just us." And the little girl says, "No, daddy. Don't you remember the butterfly person with the big wings? They were there too." And so these children started telling stories. I mean, crazy stuff. There's another story in the book about how these people were in a church service at the time when the tornado hit. And here's my thing though, Christy. It's like I've grown up in the Midwest. You know what we know what to do in a tornado watch or tornado warning. If there's going to be tornado, we just don't go out, right? So I don't know what all these people were doing at church,
Yeah.
but that's okay. And
Who knows? I grew up in Michigan, so I'm right there with you. Like I understand. I understand. I've been many a bathtub, basement, and closet.
Exactly. So these people were in church service. That's cool, whatever. And so we went down to the basement to get shelter, and then the church had collapsed, and there was all this debris, and this crew of men, big, strong men, but nothing extraordinary, showed up, and they started moving all of these things, getting people out of there. And they said, "Okay, well, we got to go. We're going to go help somebody else." And then another crew came by, had no idea who the first crew was. They didn't, the people in the church didn't know because they didn't identify themselves. They're just here to help. And then the people who came up afterwards said, "How did those guys lift these beams? That is some superhuman strength." You know,
And nobody else could figure out where they went to. Nobody else had any, like, it was like a one-time crew that come in that nobody knew anything about these people that like saved I mean, it's really, you know, crazy. Let's tell us about the Cokeville miracle. I want to hear. I want my audience to hear that one. That one was
there
pretty
is a movie now
intense.
about the Cokeville miracle. And it's made like in the 80s, maybe
Oh,
early 90s, and it's pretty good. It's nothing flashy, nothing too extravagant. It's not like high cinema, but it's a good story and it tells the story well. So the Cokeville miracle, there was this madman had written a manifesto, planned to take an elementary school hostage. So he and his wife, well, this gentleman actually had been on the police force earlier in the town of Cokeville. He had been dismissed, and then he wanted to go back and go figure,
uh,
right? He wanted to go back and hold these kids, this whole school hostage for, X number of $1 million because he had this manifesto. He's going to take everybody to this new realm, this new world. And so his wife and he walked into the Cokeville Elementary School. There's more to the story, but I want people to get the book and read it for themselves. So he and his wife walked into the school and they convinced everybody to gather in one class school and they convinced everybody to gather in this every and he wanted to talk to President Reagan, who was president at the time, and he wanted, this ransom. So fast forward in this story, and he had a bomb, a homemade bomb, and it was fueled with gasoline. And the fumes from this bomb were starting to make the children ill. And the teachers asked if they could open windows, which they did, and they were granted that permission to open windows. So then fast forward even more, and the bomb goes off. And luckily, the windows were already open, so the kids got out safely. Everybody got out safely. The only injury was the music teacher who was helping everybody get out, and he made a full recovery. It was just not even a big deal of an injury. But the only two fatalities were this madman and his wife. Afterward, the children started talking about the angels that helped them, that there were all these beings who came in, helped them get out. And then there were angels that came in and took all of the shrapnel from the bomb and carried it up through the ceiling. And the forensic experts afterward came through and they looked at the remains of this bomb and they said that should have blown the entire school to kingdom come. There is no way that this bomb, it malfunctioned, it malfired,
yeah.
misfired, or something because it should have leveled the entire
Yep.
block.
there was no rational explanation for how the bomb did not kill anyone except the perpetrators of the incident. Like, that was pretty, and just the kids, everybody talking about these beings that are helping them and what they look like and all of that jazz was really, like, gives you gives you chills. Like, it really is, like, you just never know. Like, we are just living in a world that there's so much more going on. There's so much more happening around us that we can't see, and,
Yeah.
it's magical. Another thing in your book that I love to talk about are near-death experiences. I talk a lot about near-death experiences, and I have a completely different, feeling, opinion, perception of death in general now, just from my own spiritual awakening, understanding what we are, what our nature is, what happens when you die. I don't fear death anymore. I really don't. I'm not like cheering for it to come tomorrow, but I certainly don't think I'm going to fear death. Number one, I truly believe no one dies before
Right.
they're supposed to.
I
Nobody. Nobody dies before they're supposed to. So I know that when I do die, it's because that's my soul contract. My time is up. I've learned whatever I'm supposed to learn, and now I'm going to go on back to my home, which is where we're really from, and heal and grow and probably come back down here and learn and grow and expand my consciousness. And that's kind of what
Mhm.
we're doing, it seems. But, you talk about near-death experiences in your book. Can you go over a couple of people's, magical, post-NDE experiences after they come back and with the revelations and their creative
It's
abilities? And it's just
fascinating. Well, first of
fascinating.
all, I'd like to mention that Dr. Raymond Moody, who actually coined the phrase near death experience, and he was the one who first researched the phenomenon, endorsed my book. And yeah, I got to
Oh,
interview him for
wow.
my other podcast, and he's a lovely man, and we've kind of struck up a friendship. And yeah, he endorsed this book. So yeah, the near death experience is amazing because, we're all going to die. And people who've had near death experiences, they might know more about what that process is like than any of us. None of us really know what the entire process is like. Even near death experience, I feel there are some similarities between these different experiencers, but who knows what happens when they don't come back, right? And the times when they don't come back. So there's more to be discovered. But what we know from near death experience is that there are beings all around us that will greet us there and meet us there. There's often music on the other side that becomes part of us, that colors are enhanced on the other side. There's some certain things that we know, and that there's always a feeling of love, and that we've got people saying, I'm sorry, honey, I know you really love it here, but you got to go back, right? And helping us. So in the book, there are two very well developed stories, and they, of course, um, were in the podcast as well. So I think the most known story is David Ditchfield, who's in the UK. His near death experience happened when he was seeing a friend off on a train, and he had one of these long kind of duster Australian coats on, and it got stuck in the door as the train was pulling out, and he got drug under the train. Now, England has since gone back and revised all of their safety regulations and retooled the trains and everything, so that can't happen again, which is something that's good that came out of it. But he got drug under the train. The entire train stopped. They began praying, everybody who was in the train. And then, the EMTs came, took him to the hospital. He had surgery. His left arm was nearly severed, and they were able to reattach that. And during his experience, he met 3 of his guides. They said that they laid him on a slab of, like, stone or marble, and these 3 beings were working on him, healing him with their hands. One of whom seemed to be the main character of these 3, and he said that it was just a dude in a black T-shirt and jeans. He's like, "That's the angel I get? It's somebody in a black T-shirt and jeans." In fact, that's what I call the story is Angel in a Black T-shirt. And that
Yep.
he describes them so beautifully in the book and on the podcast. And when he came out of this near-death experience, he felt, we talked about this compulsion to tell people that there's so much more to them.
Yeah.
And we talked about this compulsion that we might feel to do certain things. Well, he felt compelled to paint. Now, and I'm not talking about a little picture like this. I'm talking about, like a 6 foot tall canvas. He was compelled to paint these beings that he saw on the other side. And he didn't stop there. He just like was a madman painting. He also started composing the music that he heard on the other side. Now, Eben Alexander, you may have heard of him. He wrote Proof of Heaven. He had a very well documented near death experience. He was a neurosurgeon before his experience. He was in and out of a coma for a week. He came out of his near death experience. First of all, talk about F.A.T.E, fate. He was an atheist before his experience. Afterward, he's not, and he is feeling compelled to tell everybody about the afterlife. And he feels, Dr. Eben Alexander feels compelled to recreate the music and the frequencies that he heard on the other side. So he started this foundation and this website to do just that. So back to David Ditchfield. David Ditchfield also felt compelled to recreate the music that he heard on the other side. And he knew maybe 3 chords and was in a punk band before his near-death experience. So he had never did anything like that. His and so his brother-in-law gave him a keyboard and he started noodling around and started composing something. And he's like, "No, it needs to be bigger. It needs to be for an orchestra. It needs to be like a symphony." And so somebody gave him a computer and some software that he could transpose what he's writing into music that an orchestra could read, and he wrote a symphony. So people said afterward, "So where did you study? You can't have written this without having years of study and training to how to write." He's like, "I didn't. I don't know. I just kind of wrote it." And he's since then written other symphonies as well, and he's been pretty prolific with the writing and the painting. So he came out of that with profound changes. First of all, personality changes, and just realizing there's
Profound
yes.
creative gifts. I think part of I have a theory that like a lot of highly creative people, I think are don't know they're doing it maybe, but are sort of channeling a higher self dimension thingy that allows them to have these cuz let's face it, humans are like some of the things that we can create and do, whether it be writing a symphony or painting or singing or being an author, writing like
Mhm,
crazy in-depth stories, like I do feel that level of creativity is coming from somewhere that's not in our mind, that is coming from a dimension that is being somewhat channeled to us from a higher
mhm.
sense. It feels like that to me. That and it's common for people to have near death experiences and come back with profound gifts, whether it be creativity or I interviewed a woman, Kimberly Meredith. She can lay hands on people and heal them now, and she had 2 near death experiences. So it's like when you go over to that side and you come back, I think you get some of the magic dust on you for good, and it lives with you forever, and from what I understand, once you have a near death experience that you can transport yourself back there mentally and remember every single little
Yeah,
detail, a lot of people say,
yeah,
which is
David said that
fascinating as
that
well.
he was afraid he was gonna forget
Yeah.
everything, and he's just like, he hasn't. He hasn't gotten 1 second of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I've done quite a few shows on near death experiences because they do fascinate me so much, and they really illuminate you to what we are, and everybody says that when they come back, they felt more real on the other side, that this wasn't real to them, that side is really the real side, and that this is just a nothing burger illusion
I
and
love
nothingness. And yeah, it's really, uh, you know, just blows your mind because we're so, human beings are we're so into the minutia of our everyday, and we're so hung up on things that we shouldn't really even be on our plate at all. Like we just worry about things that aren't don't
Right.
matter, quite frankly. And a lot of people that come back from the other side say just that like we have lost sight of what we're doing here, that we get caught up in the stuff that doesn't matter, that's not why we're here. And it's only when somebody gets a taste to the other side and understands, oh, that's what I'm supposed to be doing, or that is who I am really, or oh, this is what life is really, that you're able to come back and look through a completely different lens and transform your
Right.
life
Absolutely.
basically,
Yeah,
you
and
know?
we get there through hypnosis
It
too, which is interesting. Come out of these,
Yeah.
spiritual hypnosis sessions, just profound realizations and profound changes. You talked about the experience of it feeling more real than real. The this is that out there is what's real. What we're living here is an illusion, which is true. Now, how many of us have had a dream that felt more real than real, especially if it involves a loved
Yeah,
one on the other side? So when we have
yeah.
those dreams that feel more real than real, I feel like that's actually happening. That is the reality.
It Yeah, it's true. I mean, I'm literally the episode that I'm releasing, on Monday, so it'll already have been well out by the time this airs, is an episode on precognitive dreams and how our dreams are a version of, some, not all of them, but they do have some sort of connection with a
Yeah.
a different realm. And when you have like a precognitive dream, it really does twist your mind on the question of like, what is time then? If I can dream something before like what the concept of time always racks my brain. From what I understand, there's linear time down here, but once you get outside into the spirit world, everything is happening at the same time. There's no linear time, and I have a hard time wrapping
I
my
totally
brain
get it.
around
Well,
that one.
Dolores Cannon, again, this lady who's in the picture over my head,
Ah,
she said, humans are the only ones who could take something that cannot be measured and quantified and find a way to measure and quantify it. Right. So, Doctor Who, my favorite doctor was David Tennant. He was the 10th doctor. He was amazing. And he said, it's like timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly stuff. It it's not it's not in a line as we were taught in 3rd grade, where the left of the line is the past and the
yeah, yeah,
right
yeah.
of the time is the future and the middle is the present. It's not
Wow.
like that at all. So my guides explained it to me 2 different ways. The first way they explained it is that it's like your radio in your car. Like back when we all had, radios that we could, radios, I don't know. We used to have the radio around here. Anyway, so it's like the radio in your car. All the stations are playing at the same time, but we use a tuner to listen where we want to listen to it. That could be the oldies station. It could be classical station. It could be the
Yeah.
new age station, wherever we're attuned to. And they said time functions the same way. We're just collectively agreeing that right now it's 2025 and we are here. Now, why would we want to do that? I don't know because it's kind of dense here.
I don't wanna be here.
But here we are, and here we must be because we've all agreed to it. Now, the other way that they explained it to me is that because I was like, yeah, that's really, really cool. But how do you explain things starting and stopping all the time and life and death and birth and all of these things? And they said, okay, well, think of it this way then that it's the biggest multiplex you could ever imagine. All of these movies are playing at the same time. And you could go into one movie and you could walk in at the beginning of the movie. When it finishes, you could walk into another movie that's already playing. You walk in the middle of it, and that all of these things are playing at the same time, but we can jump around and catch them in various stages. I thought,
I like that analogy. Yeah, I can get on that train. The movie analogy. I actually work in the movie industry, so I'm like, oh, I can get in that. That one I vibe with. That
right?
makes sense to me. You know,
Thought
that
so
makes sense
too.
to me for sure. Um, yeah. How about one of the things in your book? You talk about ascended masters, and I didn't know that there
Oh
were
my
that
God.
many ascended masters. and I didn't realize who they were. Can you just go over the concept of ascended masters and where are they in the hierarchy of angelic beings, and what are some of the who are they and what are they doing?
Sure.
What is their
So
purpose, I
ascended
guess?
masters are not angels. They're kind of a mixed bag, as I like to mention. So some of them have been living before, such as Yogananda, Padre Pio, Jesus had been alive before, Siddhartha Gautama, the first Buddha. And then some of them are deities. I used to call them minor deities, but they were very quick to correct me. No, thank you very much. We're deities. Like, okay, good. So deities such as Apollo and Oshun or Pele or Brigid. So many of them we've heard before, but there's just as many that might be new to all of us if we're not raised in a different, culture or our religious traditions. Um, so many of them we do know already, but that doesn't really matter. They all have their own jobs that they do. For example, Ganesh, the Hindu god with the elephant head, he removes objects for us. He's the remover of obstacles. So if we've got an obstacle in our path, we call in Ganesh. He can help us just make it not be an obstacle. Then there's Babaji, who I believe comes from the Hindu religion pantheon as well. Some people said that he was actually living and he helps us with yoga, but he also helps us like kind of think outside the box and stretch ourselves a little bit. He can also be a taskmaster in terms of alcohol and sugar and things like that. So these ascended masters all have different jobs that they help us with, but they're all in service to humanity. So they are not as high on the hierarchy as archangels. There's a complete hierarchy from humans all the way up to source, and ascended masters are just below the archangels. Archangels are actually mid-level management. They're not the highest forms.
Mm.
So there's other levels that are higher than archangels, like the powers and the thrones and the principalities and the cherubim and the
Like the council of light beings and stuff like that I've heard of people talk about, that kind of
yeah, yeah,
they're they're below those
yeah, different types
types.
of beings, and some of them are higher vibration and lower vibration, but yeah, the archangels, they are mid-level because they are closer to humans and they help us. And so there's things like the principalities that work with entire governments, land areas, groups of people, like a country or a city or a municipality. And then there's, like the powers that oversee the planetary type of stuff. But archangels and ascended masters, they're for humans.
Do you, like, have to tap into that via a meditation? Do you pray to them to come and help you, or how do you ask for help from an
Well,
ascended
just like you
master?
would ask anybody for help. You know, they
Yeah.
cannot any none of our beings that are with us and assisting us, none of them can infringe on our free will. I mean, the important exception is if we're about to absentmindedly step off a cliff and it's not our time to die. They can swoop in and help us. But that's pretty rare. They wait for us to ask, and we do have to ask. And so I kind of visualize them all sitting around on a cloud watching Oprah and eating bonbons, going, "Hey, did your person call you today? No. Did your person call? No, they never call. They never write. We're just waiting." And so we can ask for help. We can,
Yep.
I gave the example of, well, what am I going to make for dinner? Who can help me with that? Right? But we can ask for anything that we might need help with, a real estate deal, a lawsuit, relationships. We can ask for this help, but then we need to realize that that answer might not come in the form that we're expecting or in a form that we think that we want. Help can come in
Yeah.
different ways and we
Yep.
need to be open to it. So in a way, it's set it and forget it. Ask for the assistance, walk away and see what happens.
Yep. Also, I think your level of belief might have a little bit to do with it. I think you need to believe a little bit of and your intentions and your beliefs, I think, also have power in itself when you're asking for help in this way. And I think it's really important to have, you know, have that belief system when you set that intention that you believe that when you ask for it, it
Yeah.
is done. Um, you know who else you listen to that I love
Yes.
is Abraham Hicks, also a huge Abraham Hicks fan. So I definitely wanted to give a shout out to that. I listen and I listen. I don't know if you know who Neville Goddard. I don't know if you listen to Neville Goddard. Like all fans of all of that. So we align a
And
lot on our playlist of folks.
Bashar, Seth. Yeah.
Bashar? Yes, Seth, yes,
I had Theo.
yes. Check,
Check, check,
check,
check. I had
check.
Theo on my other podcast, the Radiate Wellness
Yeah.
podcast.
Oh, wow, I would love
His
to
love
get her
Marcus are
on.
lovely. That is Sheila and Marcus Gillette. Sheila.
I maybe you can hook me up and I can send him a little
Oh,
email like, "Hey, I
yeah.
have something. I'd love to host you." I mean, I've been really lucky on the show. I haven't I get a lot of PR publicists just saying, "Hey, I have a guest for you." So I haven't had to do a lot of like, "Hey, would you like to be on my podcast?" But I want to start going for guests that I'd love to have on the show. I'd love to have them on
You're
the show.
delightful.
Love to. Love to. Oh, Christy, you are delightful. I absolutely enjoyed our conversation. We align all a lot. I the only thing that I'm missing is I don't have any
You
intuitive gifts, but other than
do.
that, we're out there on the same
You
mission,
do.
you know, trying
Develop them.
well, we're both out there trying to raise the vibration of this planet. So I have got your back 100%. Um, your book, what is the easiest, fastest, best way to for people to
So, I mean,
get your
it's
book?
all the places that you would find your books online. Plus, it should be in your local bookshop too. If it's not, please ask them. But you can find it
Okay,
on
great.
Amazon, or one of my favorite sites is bookshop.org is it, and you can actually specify a local independent bookstore to get the profits. So I love that. In fact, Afterward Tavern here in Kansas City, Missouri is my favorite bar because it's a bookstore as well.
A bookstore bar? I
Books and
love that
booze
idea.
is so
Yes. Yes, books
yeah,
and
we're
booze.
gonna be having the
Yes.
launch party for the book at Afterward Tavern here in KC. But you can put in whatever bookstore you absolutely love, you know, and then that store gets the profits.
I love that. And your podcast, you have the Real Life Angel Encounter podcast, and then
The
you also
Radiate
have
Wellness
another one, I think.
podcast. And those 2 podcasts can be found wherever you listen to your podcast. Literally, we're on all of the platforms. And I should say that Real Life Angel Encounters is a recipient of an award from Women in Podcasting for the best storytelling podcast.
Oh.
Real Life Angel Encounters.
Yes, yes, that's amazing.
You.
Congratulations. That's huge.
It goes out
Oh,
to
I'm super
all of the
stoked. That's
listeners and all
amazing.
of the storytellers, because without people to tell their stories, the podcast would not be a reality.
I hear that. I hear that. Well, I'm very happy for you. That is amazing. What if people wanted to get quantum healing? Do you have a website? Do you want me to where would they be able to reach out for help in that arena?
radiatewellnesscommunity.com. Radiate Wellness Community. So it's
Okay.
a group practice. So there's myself and 3 other practitioners, and you can find out what we do, who we are. You can schedule an appointment. You can listen to back episodes of both of the podcasts. And then there's also a shop tab where there's another place where you can download or order the book, actually. In fact, we've got a few books among us that we've either written or co-written. And so that can be done on our website as well, radiatewellnesscommunity.com. I might also like to plug, if I may, real quick plug, shout out. I'm in
Yeah.
season 2 of Journeys into the Soul. This is a docu-series by filmmaker David Marsh, and it talks about all of the answers that we have within us, and it follows different hypnotherapists around the world using a variety of methods: QHHT, life between lives, um, Brian Weiss's stuff. And every episode features one practitioner and their client. And I am in season 2, and that's the whole entire series. Is released June 14th, so well before this episode comes out, and they can watch the entire series, first season, second season, journeysintothesoul.com, also on Gaia or Amazon.
I love it. Check it out, guys. I will put the books in the book in the show notes, your podcast link, and people check it out on Gaia or Amazon if you have that up and running. That would be amazing. Christi, thank you for being a part of the Fate podcast. I really enjoy it. Anytime you want to come back and chat, please do. We align on so many things. So it was a real pleasure to meet you, and I hope that I'll see you again out there, my friend. Keep doing what you're doing. You
Oh,
are a
you
light.
too, dear. This has been a joy. Thank you so much.
All righty, gang. Well, that is a wrap on this episode of Fate. We will see you next week. Journey well, everyone. Bye bye. And that is a wrap on this episode of Fate, from Atheism to Enlightenment. I want to thank Christi Clemons Hoffmann for coming on the show. We actually were offline chatting for quite a few minutes after we recorded, and we really are aligned on so many things. When I read her book, and one of the first things that she said was, I feel compelled to tell everybody that there's more going on than we think, and that we're more capable than what we think we are. Like, I feel exactly the same way. It's one of the reasons why I do this show, is because I feel so pulled to have these conversations, to dive into what and who we are. And the more and more I do this show, guys, the more and more I am full on transforming my entire belief system from what it used to be. And it's exciting. I mean, I don't think I've changed, like, as a person, although I kind of have in some ways. Um, but I've really been enjoying this journey, opening my mind, embracing new concepts. I find that I am more of who I want to be and less of who I don't. I used to be pretty harsh. I used to be pretty loud. And I'm a much kinder, gentler, more evolved, more conscious, more inquisitive, less fearful person. I understand we're all connected. I understand we're all here to have a journey. And I love having conversations with people like Christi, who are intuitives, who are empaths, who have the ability to kind of tap into the other side and get confirmation of these things that I only read about, that I only talk to people about. I did mention in the podcast a little that I have been using my emotion code techniques to kind of tap into my spirit side, and it does seem to work. And I do kind of experience a feeling, like I feel an energy close to me. And I don't really talk about it that much. In fact, I'm not even quite sure why I'm talking about it right now. Probably because every single time I talk about doing it, it happens. So it's a confirmation for me, like, oh, they're with me. All right, I'll tell you the story. So I started doing gateway experience tapes, and it does hemi-sync music, and your left and your right brain start talking to each other a little bit more and communicating on a different level. Since then, I have a sensation in my left leg that I can't understand. And I sat with a medium, and what she told me was this, that I have one of my spirit guides is with me, and she said they are very, very close to me. She said they're like right next to you, close to you. She's like, do you feel anything? And I said, Jean, yes, I've been feeling a sensation in my left leg and lower foot. As I'm saying this, that squeeze is happening as I'm saying it. Like, it's kind of weird and woo-woo, which is why I don't talk about it much, but I don't know. It's my truth, so I should speak it. But I said, yes, Jean. I said, I have been feeling a squeezing sensation on my foot, ankle, left leg. And she's like, it's okay. You can tell them that to back off, that it's too much. And I actually haven't done that because I enjoy the confirmation of when I'm saying things, when I'm asking questions, and I get that energetic feeling on my left side. It just gives me confirmation that I'm not alone, that my spirit guides are with me, that they're here assisting me. I need a lot of help. So I don't know, it gives me comfort. And I have used emotion code to kind of communicate with my spirit guides and my higher self. And that's giving me really good insight. So I'm dabbling in all of this stuff. I'm gonna start dabbling in like sigils and paying attention more to the moon cycles and manifestations. Like I'm really starting to get into a world where I'm living my life more heavily with a spiritual um vibe, with asking my guides more. Like even when I'm taking my medicine in the morning, I hold it up to me and I use the sway test, because if your body wants something, like, I don't know, let's say I'm going to take a little bit of neurological support that day. Um, if I hold the bottle up to me and I sway forward, it's yes, my body wants that. If I sway backwards, my body's like, no, it does not want that. And I pretty much muscle test my body for everything now. And it's a great way um to honor your body, to give it what it needs, to listen to your body. It is its own conscious self. It does many things that you're not aware of every single second of the day. Your heartbeat, your breathing, your blood running through your body, all kinds of stuff. All right, I'm getting a little off on track here. So, anyways, those are some of the things that I kind of do now that I would never have done before, that help me get through my life, my health, keep me on track. I mean, I'm if you're watching me on YouTube, I'm in my new digs. As you can see, I don't have like the white curtain looking out to the garden behind me. I have um my place in Atlanta. I'm in my office. So I'm here for the summer. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to put out new shows, to be honest with you. I'm going to need to be working 14 hours a day. It's going to be a kind of a ball buster of a shoot. So I don't have time to record, promote, edit, all of it. There's just not enough time in the day, not unless I was going to like just run myself ragged, which I'm not interested in running myself ragged for anything or anyone these days. I have to take care of myself. So I am either going to go on hiatus or I'm going to rerun some shows. And I'm really hoping you guys stick with me and don't lose track of this little podcast that I'm trying to um, continue to do, and that you ride out the inconsistency and the waves with me, so I can afford to do this show and I can continue to bring you amazing guests with fascinating stories, concepts, enlightening tales. So many people have these stories, hear these stories, know people that have experienced it. um I truly believe our loved ones, angels, ascended masters, are among us. They are watching over us. There's benevolent and malevolent, I believe. And I think if you start paying attention to them, they will start paying attention to you. That is what I find when Christy said you have to ask. I believe you have to actually intentionally put it in your mind that you want communication, that you want assistance, that you want guidance. And I think that's when they step in and start providing that for you in various ways, whether it be sometimes I feel like I get insight through what I'm watching on my phone, or, you know, little songs on the radio, or a a cardinal, I always think of my father. He's coming in to say hi. I do think we have the capacity to tap into that source more, allow it to guide us. That's what I'm doing. And I find comfort in it. I'm unafraid. I think it's a natural part of who we are. And I think that if you allow that to become the norm for you, it can be a great way to keep you on your soul path, to keep you making the best decisions that are of your highest and greatest good. So, there's a lot going out on in the world right now. There's a lot of reasons to be fearful. There's a lot of reasons to be watching the news. There's just so much. Um, I don't really want to get into all of that on this show. I like to keep it super positive and super non-political. But at the same time, I am completely and totally aware that we're going to see a lot of very hard things in the next few years. Things are going to get much worse before they get better. And although I don't want to talk about politics, I do want to talk about fear. I do want to talk about how you should be looking at this situation. I don't look at it through a political lens personally. I look at it through in a spiritual, evolving way. I think we're in the middle of a spiritual awakening. I think that there is a lot of chaotic energy in the universe, definitely in our world. I think there's greater things going on than than the political circus that we see on the news from every aspect, everywhere on the planet. It feels like there's some sort of ridiculous circus going on. And it's going to be a bumpy ride, folks. But I would just remind you of this. If you live in fear, if you live in hate, if you live in a place where you feel helpless, you are going to create that. We are all connected. We are. Your energy transmits. It will attract what you send out. And if you are vibrating with anger, fear, hate, you are going to add to the negative energy that we're already seeing in our existence. The level of fear, the level of hate is becoming pretty epic out there. I am trying my best to stay centered, to keep myself grounded, to don't focus on things that I don't want to appear in my reality. And I know that is very hard to say. It's very difficult to put that into practice. Or I should say, it's easy to say, not hard to say, easy to say, difficult to put it into practice. But you create your own reality. And if you want things to change in your exterior world, they need to change in your interior world first. That's the thing that I think everyone's missing. It starts inside. It starts within. You want to see more love in the world, you got to love people you hate. You want to see more calm in the world, you got to be the calm in the storm. You want to see less fear in the world and fear mongering, you got to be brave, strong, and courageous. That's the trick. That's it. And then you have to manifest your deepest and highest good for all. So hang in there, gang. I will keep you posted on all things. Pick up her book. It's going to be in the show notes. And check out her podcast, Real Life Angel Encounters. I'm going to check it out. It sounds amazing. She's got the Radiate Wellness podcast. I'll put her website in the show notes if you're looking for a quantum healing session or a Reiki session. She is good people, and she's a healer and a light. And thank you, Christi Clemons Hoffmann, for being a part of the F.A.T.E podcast. If you want to follow the show, I'm on Instagram at F.A.T.E podcast. follow the show. You know the drill. I'm trying, blah, 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 blah. Pick my book, Mr. Pickles and Maggie, A Tale of True Friendship. It's a great way for you to get an adorable children's book that any dog lover, child, somebody with disabilities, somebody who's had a hard day, it is absolutely the best, and it will help support the show. I am on the struggle bus with all things in my career and financial. I'm in the movie industry. The movie industry has left the country, folks. So even though I'm out here working, I'm a rare bird. I manifested this job. Almost all of my friends are not working. Like, I have just been hardcore manifesting a job so I can continue to do this show, have a roof over my head, take care of my dog, my bills, my life. So help me out. Buy my book. You won't regret it. And let me know what you think about it, because it really is special. It really just is. Sorry, but alrighty, gang. We'll leave it there. Welcome to your fate, everyone. I'll see you next week. Journey well. Bye.